Hi there! Welcome to Introduction to Atlassian's Opsgenie. I'm Kate Clavitt, a Senior Technical Product Marketing Manager at Atlassian. Today, we're going to go through a brief background of what Opsgenie does and how it can help your alerting and on-call management processes. Before we start on the good stuff, just a couple of housekeeping items. So, I want to point out that this webinar is a pre-recorded event. So while we'll go through some questions and answers, those are from an event that we've recorded previously. This means that if you do have questions that we don't cover today, you can reach out to us in the Atlassian community. And between Atlassian staff and community members, we'll be certain to get your questions answered. Some networks are slower than others, so if the slides aren't advancing for you, check your network or try refreshing the page. There are no dial-in numbers for this webinar, so all sound's going to come through your computer speakers. Just make sure that your volume is turned up and your headphones are properly connected so you can have the best experience. Now that we have all of that out of the way, first I'm just going to give a little bit of background on Atlassian's Opsgenie in the form of slides. Then we'll dive into a brief demo so you can take a look at how it works. And at the end, we'll cover some frequently asked questions and some resources that are going to help you as well. For starters, Opsgenie is Atlassian's powerful alert and on-call management solution. Teams rely on Atlassian's Opsgenie to keep their critical services always on and high-performing. We ensure that you can notify the right teams at the right time and are there for you when you need support. Since it's a complete on-call and alert management solution right out of the box, you don't need expensive add-ons in order to get that functionality. Another thing that I'd like to cover just to level set all of us is definitions of some of the vocabulary that we use. I know a lot of us are very familiar with ITIL, but Opsgenie doesn't necessarily align completely with those definitions, and it can create some confusion. So we're just going to discuss that quickly. An alert, often called also a notification, this is something letting you know that a threshold has been reached. Something's changed, a failure's occurred. Oftentimes, these two terms, alert and notification, are used interchangeably. Basically, it's something that you need to know about. So Opsgenie refers to this as an alert. An incident is an unplanned interruption or potential interruption to a service or a quality reduction of a service. And then finally, a major incident is the highest category of impact for an incident. So we're referring to something that is a significant disruption to your business, for your customers, etc. So, for example, if you're using an AWS instance and you're slowly running out of space, you might set up alerts to let you know when you're at 50% capacity or 75% capacity. Again, something you need to know about so you can do something for it, but it might not necessarily indicate a major outage or a disruption. A web page taking longer to load than normal would be considered an incident. A web page that's not loading at all is a major incident. That's a significant disruption to your business. So just to review, although Opsgenie doesn't fully align with the ITIL definitions, when we say alert, we're referring to a notification. When we say incident, an Opsgenie incident is a major incident, something that requires teams to mobilize and swarm. Now that we have those definitions out of the way, let's talk about the history of Atlassian's Opsgenie. It was built to counteract the noise and chaos that occur in a typical IT environment. So here we see we've got our dev stack on one side and we have our operations teams on the other side. Then you introduce monitoring and logging tools in the middle. So in a scenario like this, with no additional solution, no Opsgenie involved, what's going to happen is your teams are going to be drowning in alerts. So here's this operations team getting alerts from all directions. They can't determine what's important. They can't determine what they need to react to right away. To this day, in 2024, I am still shocked at how many teams I speak to are still using a single inbox to receive all notifications and then making a person look through them for important warnings and determine what they need to mobilize and respond to. Working like that causes a lot of problems. It causes a lot of frustrations. So ops team members often receive alerts that aren't relevant or aren't an emergency. This means that Important notifications are getting missed because when you don't know what's important, you can't sift through it, you can't filter through it. Team members get alerts that don't matter to them or that they can't do anything about. You turn off the phone. You're tired of getting woken up at 3 a.m. for something that's just informational. This is how important alerts are missed or incidents can go undetected. Typical incident management, which we refer to as slightly less mature, more reactive, determines the following only after the alert's been created. So, who should be alerted? When should they be alerted? Has the alert been acknowledged? Does it need to be escalated? Who do I pull in here? And so this is that same scenario I described before, where you have all these notifications going into a single inbox. It's reactive and increases the amount of downtime your customer can experience. Conversely, this is how we see a proactive approach. So you've got your IT dev stack on the left side, then you have your monitoring and logging tools, and then Opsgenie is sitting in between. It's acting as a dispatcher and collecting all the necessary information that your teams need in order to take action on those alerts. With hundreds of bidirectional integrations out of the box, and the ability to connect to your tooling through API, so whether you're using an integration like Datadog or Nagios, all actions that are taken to respond to or resolve that alert are going to be visible in your records and in your logs and your reporting. So once Opsgenie gets this alert, it's going to filter it, deduplicate it, and then send it to the right person or the right teams that are on call and ready to take action. You also have the opportunity to centralize response in Slack or Microsoft Teams if your teams are leveraging ChatOps. When you connect your monitoring and ITSM tooling with Opsgenie, you can consolidate, deduplicate, and prioritize everything in one place before it gets passed to your dev team, before it gets passed to your ops team, before it gets passed to whomever is on call. With this proactive approach, we're saying no to that manual work, no to sifting through that single inbox, and getting woken up for alerts that either aren't relevant to your job or they don't require immediate action. Okay, now for the fun part. For the demo, I'm going to take you through how to set up a team. We're going to do a high-level overview of integrations, policies, profile settings, alert actions, incident response, and reporting. This introduction is not designed to be a deep technical dive. We just want to be able to give you a full picture of what Opsgenie has, what capabilities it offers, and how it can improve your alert and on-call management process. So let's dive in. So here we are. Once you log into Opsgenie, the first thing that you're going to see is the alert dashboard. And that's because typically when you are taking action, when you're logging into Opsgenie, you're doing it to take action on an alert. So we put that front and center for you. The first thing you want to do to get started in Opsgenie is to create a team. Now, obviously for brevity, I've already added users. You can do that through settings. When users are invited, they will receive an email to verify their information and then log into their account. But I am going to just create a team to show you how quickly you can get one started. So I'm just going to call this Kate's team and add members. You can see here that the two main types of users or team members that we have are users and admins. The way I like to think about it is user, that's someone who's responding to alerts or incidents, and admin is someone who has all of the power to configure, to set things up, to manage integrations and how they work. We do also offer custom roles, which I'll show you in just a moment. So once you create your team, you see here on this menu on the left side, you can go into roles and custom roles. These custom roles are available for those who have more granular needs in terms of access. So this is a nice option. The next thing after setting up a team is getting your integrations going. So this is a brand new team. If I go to the integrations tab, there's not going to be anything set up, so I can add my first integration. Opsgenie has hundreds of integrations that come out of the box. We can also accept anything that sends JSON or HTTPS, and we do have an API so that you're able to pretty much connect to any source that you'd need to if we don't have an out-of-the-box integration available. For the sake of the demo, I'm going to set up an integration with Slack. This is a very common integration. Most folks are using Slack or MS Teams for chat ops. This particular integration that we're setting up is to handle alerts. If you're part of multiple Slack accounts, you can click at the top to select the one that you would like to switch to, and then you can choose the channel. So I'm going to choose keeping the lights always on. You'll see at the top here that there are instructions to help you get started quickly, and then further down are settings. So we'll notice, okay, we've checked that this is enabled, it's assigned to my team. You can also assign integrations to no one, should you choose to do so. This is great, a great option for an alert source that might be informational all of the time. You have that on record, you're getting information from that alert source, but you're not routing it to someone. You're able to execute commands. So with the Opsgenie and Slack bidirectional integration, you're able to use something called slash commands. One popular command is to ask /Genie who is on call, and it will tell you who's on call for each team within your Opsgenie instance at that time. So you control here how this integration is going to work. This is the important piece here, this alert filter. You're not going to want to send every single alert to your Slack instance. That's going to be unmanageable. It is not going to be helpful, and it's going to create alert fatigue. So here you can match various conditions. What I'm going to do is only match alerts that have a priority that's higher than P3. So we will be receiving alerts in Slack for P2 and P1 alerts. Those are typically the alerts I want my team to pay attention to, and having them visible in Slack will make it a lot easier to do. So within seconds, just like that, we're set up in Slack, and that integration's been created. Now I'm going to just quickly show you a slash command. If you type Genie help, it will show you all of the commands that are available to you. There are slightly different commands if your data residency is in Europe, and you'll be using those commands instead. So let's take a quick look at Genie who is on call, and just like that, Slack will let me know who's on call for each team here. Okay, so now that we've quickly covered how to set up an integration with something like Slack, let's go back to configuring our Opsgenie instance. Once you add folks to a team and create it, Opsgenie will create a default schedule for you that you'll then go in and edit. I've already created this schedule just for the sake of brevity, but we're going to take a look at how easy it is to set up and work with here. So we've got this on-call schedule just to orient you. We've got multiple rotations in the schedule. To edit a rotation, you would click on these pencils. We'll go into that in a second. You can also add a rotation here. Additionally, once a schedule is completed, you have options to disable it, to open it in calendar view, export, clone, edit, of course, and delete if necessary. And then we have our rotations down here. So you see we have an off hours rotation and a weekend rotation. And let's just click into one just to see what that looks like. So this particular rotation takes place each day. You can end the rotation whenever you want. We have various rotation types, daily, weekly, or custom. I've seen a lot of folks do follow the sun if that's how their staff is set up. You have lots of different options here and flexibility to do what works for you and for your team. The schedule we have set up here, as I mentioned, is for off hours. So it's weekday off hours only. So it's restricted from Monday to Friday within these time intervals. So that covers the schedule setup. The next thing to take a look at are overrides. These can also be done through the mobile app, which is useful. And this is something functionality is open to users. It's not restricted to admins. Again, we see users as people who are taking care of alerts, taking care of incidents. Admins are the ones setting up, managing the integrations. Let's say, for example, my colleague has a dentist appointment on Saturday, needs me to take that day for him. I just hit override. I can put myself in his place, and it's all set. And then if you wanted to take a quick look at what overrides occurred in the schedule, you would look in this section here, and you can see there I am taking that day for Sean so he can go to the dentist. Further down here is the final schedule, so you can see if there are any changes that deviate from what you initially planned or expected. That's all recorded here. The next thing we're going to cover are routing rules and escalation policies. Once you create a team, this is a standard escalation policy that Opsgenie will automatically generate and assign to your team. The goal of an escalation policy is to ensure that if no one is responding to an alert, it gets escalated, so it does get the attention it needs and it does not go unnoticed. So here we have the escalation rule. If an alert is not acknowledged, immediately notify on-call users. That makes sense. You can adjust the minutes after the creation of the alert. We're going to leave this immediately. If the alert is still not acknowledged 5 minutes after it was created, then notify the next user in the schedule. If the alert is not acknowledged after 10 minutes, then you're going to notify all members of the team. You can also choose to repeat and also to revert, acknowledge, and seen states back on repeat to each turn. So what this is referring to, an acknowledged state is obviously someone has come in and acknowledged the alert. The way that Opsgenie is set up is to reduce alert fatigue. If I look at an alert in the Opsgenie dashboard, Opsgenie knows I saw that alert, so it's going to mark that alert as seen, and it's not going to re-notify me because I've seen it. If you're concerned about this is a good tool to leverage. If the alert's not closed, in that case, you can revert the acknowledge and seen states so that it repeats until it gets the attention that it needs, and you can ensure that it gets closed. So let's say it's after 10 minutes of creation, all members of the Kate's team have notified, but nobody is responding. And perhaps after 15 minutes, you want to notify someone on a different team. So you can notify a group, you can route to a different team. Let's say I'll route it to central operations because Kate's team's not being responsive and we need an answer here. And then you can click save, and that takes care of that. Again, lots of flexibility, but also some out-of-the-box guidance so that you can get started without having to think too much on it. Here is where we manage routing rules. Routing rules determine which alerts that are assigned to Kate's team, where they go, who they are routed to. So in this case, these alerts will route to the escalation policy. If you add a routing rule, so for example, let's say that in the off hours, I don't want to notify my team of low priority alerts, 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. match alerts that are low priority. So we'll say priority is less than P3. So that means P4 or P5. So those are lower informational. You still want a record of those, but you don't necessarily need to wake folks up in the middle of the night for it. So we'll say off hours, low priority routing rule. So in this case, we're not going to route to the escalation and we're not going to route to the schedule. We're just going to record that in the system. So low priority alerts aren't going to be routed to anyone, and we're going to cut down on that alert noise. If they're not low priority, then we can route them to the escalation. Now, a common mistake I've seen is when folks first start using Opsgenie, they might route alerts to the schedule. And if you do that, then the alerts are not going to be escalated. So you see here, you get this notification. Filtered alerts are not escalated because they're routed to a schedule. So that is something you don't want to do. You want to make sure that all these other alerts, not P4, not P5, not informational, we want those to be acknowledged and we want those to be escalated and responded to. So we do want those to route to the escalation. You can add other routing rules. This is just an example as part of our overview. Now we're going to take a look at alert policies. These are rules that adjust or add something to the corresponding alert. So the thing that you want to note is there are global policies and team policies. Global policies go first, and then team policies occur after that. So let's add an alert policy just to take a look. Let's call this a critical alert policy and ensure that you enable the policy once it's created. If you don't hit this, this will run and then policies after it are not going to continue. So continue with the next policy. Okay, so we're going to match one or more conditions below. If the message contains critical, then, and you click then, make sure you turn it on. Then priority is P1. You do have other fields that you can drag and drop here to add more context to the alert, should you want to. And then we'll create and enable the policy. And that's going to show down here because this is a team-based policy. The global policies will always be encased in this box here. Once again, global policies are applied first. So when you're creating new policies, make sure to keep that in mind and be aware of how the various policies that you're creating are going to interact with each other. Now you want to add notification policies. We'll create one quickly just to show you how easy it is. Let's do low priority policy. Enable the policy. A description is handy for other coworkers or folks who are going to be in your account. We're going to auto close all low priority alerts. You can match various conditions. In this case, we're going to priority equals P5 informational. You can restrict it to time intervals if you need to. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to auto close all of those. You can adjust the time by minutes, hour, or days. And then all you have to do is create an enabled policy. You can also use notification policies to delay or suppress notifications. This is a common application for teams. You don't need your on-call teams fielding P4s and P5s, so you can suppress those until business hours. A lot of different ways you can leverage that there. The next thing we're going to go into is your profile settings. This is where you would validate all your information for your Opsgenie account. Make sure your email address is correct, your time zone, your role, verify which teams you're on, etc. The account itself, so your Opsgenie instance itself, will have a time zone, but then it also understands that you have your own time zone. So you'll notice here that my account is in Pacific time, but I'm in Eastern time. And Opsgenie understands and knows that. So now that we're in profile settings, the next thing we go into are notifications. So this is where I determine the contact methods that I want Opsgenie to use to get in touch with me when there's an alert. So you'll notice we have mobile applications on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. This is the Opsgenie app that you would be leveraging to do this. You can add an email here, a phone number, a voice, and you'll be able to determine how you receive those notifications depending on what type of alert. So let's add an email. I can add a phone number. You'll verify those methods once you apply these notification roles. I know we've walked through adding the contact methods, but for brevity, I have already set up my notification roles and I'm just going to walk you through them. So here you'll see that immediately I will get notified through email, and after 20 minutes, I'll be notified through SMS. So let's just click the edit button just so you can see the details here. If the priority is P3, notify me immediately through email. That's so I have awareness and a record of the issue. Not something you have to do. This is just how I have mine set up. And then 20 minutes later, notify me through SMS. And that's to ensure that I'm aware that there's something going on in the event that it's still open 20 minutes later. Here we have a rule for high priority alerts. I want to be notified immediately through SMS for anything that is P2 or P1, and that's high and critical respectively. You also have the ability to get notifications through push. And then always make sure you have a catch-all. When you do filter based on the specific context of an alert for notifications, it's good practice to ensure that you have a catch-all to ensure that you're getting notified for all alerts. And so after 10 minutes of any alert coming in that's new, send me an email. And again, I have that record there. You also have options down here to trigger notifications for other events. Now that we've gone through that, let's take a look at forwarding rules. So earlier, I took an on-call shift for Sean so he could go to the dentist, and now he owes me. So I'm going to be going on vacation from March 11th to March 16th, and I've asked Sean to cover for me. He's agreed. And you'll see here that all of my alerts are going to be forwarded for this time frame to ensure that they're covered, and also I'm not getting bothered while on vacation. When you do add a forwarding rule, an alert is sent through, and we'll take a look at that in just a sec. Let's go look at the anatomy of an alert. Here you'll see this alert just came through to show that alert notifications for me are going to be forwarded to Sean during that date and time that was specified. So let's click into this alert just to learn more about what an alert looks like. So here you'll see the priority level. You'll see also X1, so that means there's only one of this alert. If the alert has been deduplicated, the count is just going to increase. So you know how many of that alert you've received, but you're not going to be notified multiple times for that particular alert. You can also see the details here. The responders are Sean and myself, since he is taking over for me during that time. You have the alias and then all of the details down here. Any connected Jira software issues or Jira service management requests. And then you have the activity log. So you can see here that it was sent to Sean, but he hasn't seen it yet. The email was delivered, but he has not viewed this alert yet. It knows that I saw the alert because it knows that I viewed it on the web. So that's that scene state we were talking about before. And you can quickly look into responder states to see the details. So it knows I saw it and Sean received it but has not seen it yet. This is where tags would appear. So this tag indicates this alert is for forwarding. You can add other tags, could call scheduling. So you can see a scheduling, forwarding, and the content of the alert clearly explain it's a forwarding notification. Here are where you take action in the top right, where you can assign, add a responder, snooze, delete, and more. I'm going to acknowledge the alert. I know that Sean's going to be taking over for me, and I can now also close that alert. Here's where you can include notes as well. Sean indicated by text he'd be okay with the schedule change. Can add the note. And then say I had a picture of that, I could add that as an attachment. And you have different options. You can link to files or you can attach them directly. Okay, so now that we've covered the alerting piece, let's quickly touch on the incident piece. So here we have an incident that I created ahead of time just for brevity. The website's not working as expected. So we've got customers who are unable to buy things. This is impacting revenue. It looks like it could be isolated to those who are on our East Coast servers, but it's not clear. We have to investigate. So here you can add impacted services. In this case, of course, it's the website, so we're adding the website. You can link Jira software issues or Jira service requests if there are any relevant ones. Let's say there's some that are complaining about the website experience. Can link that. It's nice to be able to link these issues because you have a full view into the impact. Over here we have details of the incident. You can send status updates to stakeholders. You can also create an incident-specific Slack channel to mobilize your teams and have a place for them to chat and work on this incident. So here you'll see we have the responders have been added automatically. We have the details of the incident here. Okay, let's get out of the Slack UI and go back into Opsgenie. You can see the responders here, and then we have a timeline of the incident being captured here. You can see who the responders were that were added, here where I added the impacted service, the alerts that have been associated with this particular alert, and you can add entries as well in order to continue the record of all of the discussions that go on while the incident occurs. Once the incident's resolved, you can create a post-mortem report and add all the relevant information here. You can also export this to Confluence once it's completed. And real quickly, before we get into reporting, I do just want to cover heartbeats. We know that it's important to monitor the monitors. If you don't hear anything, how do you know that everything's working as expected? So you can set up a heartbeat between Opsgenie and your monitoring tools to ensure that that connection is in place. All you have to do is create a heartbeat here, give it a name, You can add tags, enable the heartbeat, and then you can set the time interval that you want the heartbeat to run and assign a team as well. So that way when something is not working as expected, your team's going to receive an alert and know to look into it. Now let's take a look at reporting. Reporting is key to measuring your alert on-call management process. So we have various out-of-the-box reports that we provide. This one is the monthly overview report. It's great to see at a glance how everything's looking across the business. You have alerts created, mean time to acknowledge, mean time to close, an analysis of alerts per hour, alerts by team, alerts by day, and you have that daily average running through there so you can kind of measure if there's an uptick or not. Obviously, it looks like there was a lot going on February 5th, something to look into. Here we have notification analytics. So you can filter by name, delivery method, or date interval. This particular chart shows you voice, SMS, mobile, email, and then the number of notifications by that method. We also have alert, mean time to acknowledge, mean time to resolve. Although we saw some of these metrics in the monthly overview, this one it goes into a bit more granular detail about alerts. You also have those filters at the top as well. And while we're just talking through a couple reports, as you can see here on the left panel, there's many more for you to leverage as well. Before we head to Q&A, just going to summarize what Opsgenie can do to help your alert and on-call management processes. We'll be able to notify the right people at the right time, thanks to our best-in-class alert engine. We offer customer support when you need it through various channels, and there are no expensive add-ons required in order to get the functionality that we've shown you today. This is a reminder that this is a pre-recorded webinar, so we will not be taking live questions. These questions are coming from the first broadcast. Great question. This one came through the chat. What's the difference between Opsgenie and Jira Service Management? There's actually a large difference in what Opsgenie is and what Jira Service Management is and who they serve. So Opsgenie is Atlassian's alert and on-call management solution. It is for smaller teams that are looking to formalize their incident management process and they're just kind of getting started on their journey. They only need alert and on-call management. Jira Service Management is a ITSM solution. It's a full IT service management solution. It covers incident management end-to-end. It also covers change management, problem management, general service management. We have templates for HR, for various business teams that cover all kinds of requests, not just IT requests. There are some overlap in the incident management practice of both products, but Jira Service Management is the end-to-end solution, whereas Opsgenie, again, like I said before, is that alert and on-call management piece, ideal for smaller teams. Okay, next question. Another great one. Can I set global notification rules? Yes, as an admin, you can set global notification rules that will override any individual's notification rule. You would do this from settings, and again, you do have to be an admin to get this done. Why don't I see policies in my menu? So we've covered alert policies. Those are ways that you can format the alerts before they're created, as they're being made, to cut down on the noise and then also increase the level of information that's included in each alert. You might not have policies in your menu because either you're not on a plan that includes policies, so for example, if you're on free, or you might not have the right permissions. So again, when we were talking about admin versus user, admins are folks who configure things, set things up, manage them. Users are folks who respond to incidents and alerts. So that is a reason. Those are two things to look into. It's either because you are not an admin or you are not on a plan that includes alert policies. Another great question. Can Opsgenie handle 10,000 alerts per day? Yes, it can. There are limits depending on what plan you're on. Check the specifics of the plan that either you're looking into or the plan that you're using, and that will give you granular information on how many alerts per day your Opsgenie instance is going to be able to handle. Okay, it looks like we don't have any more questions. So with that concluded, I'm going to put the resources up on the screen as we close out. We do have pricing and plans at that address there. As I mentioned before, if you have any questions that we didn't cover today, you can post them in the Atlassian community in the Opsgenie section, and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you're looking for documentation and other resources specific to Opsgenie, that link is available there. Be sure also to check out the resources we've provided in the webinar console. We've got some resources there that are great for you. And finally, if you're new to incident management, we have a getting started guide. We've got templates in there to help you make decisions, define things internally with your organization, and also tips that will help you avoid common pitfalls of folks starting out in their incident management journey. That concludes our webinar for the day. Thanks for joining us.